Welcome back to Rotten Rust Garage. Another weekend and back out here trying to work on this girl some, and I've got some updates. I've done a little bit since the last video, but I'll have to just talk you through it all. But anyway, what I ended up doing, as I mentioned in the last video, is I pulled that shorty header pipe off of there, took it up to Roy Hendricks muffler shop, and he was kind enough to throw it on there and put like 5 more degrees bend in this thing for me, and problem solved. It's now off of the the frame, and I'm pretty excited about that. It was a wild guess. I don't know, 5 degrees. He put in 5 degrees. Probably only needed about 3, but I'll take it because it fits now. So my goal this weekend is well, deal with all of this. Look at this collection of junk that I now have stacked all over the car. Got some much needed items to put in there, and I don't really know where to start. I might start with the starter. I think I'm gonna pull that thing out of there, as much as I wanna not do that, and figure out why it doesn't all the way in there, and that's gonna be some cussing, so I probably won't film that. But I'll get as much done this weekend as I can. I've only got a couple of hours, as per usual, some family events, and then I'm right back out of town again on Monday morning. So it is it's a busy life. But you know what? Got to make hay while the sun shines, something like that. Might as well get started. Let's go. So as I mentioned in the last video, and I'm going to get you right up on in there, right up close and personal. Look at that gap. That is at least 3/16 down here, probably an 1/8 up here at the top. And this is the nightmare nut right here, that because of this engineer, the bolt goes through to the trans. Really difficult to get to because the way this starter is, well, sitting. As I mentioned before, this is a clockable starter. That's what gives me this 1/4 inch of gap here, so I don't overheat this thing, although I probably still will with those headers. But I'm going to work on getting this out of here. I'll get the wiring unbolted and pull that on out. It should come out no problem with the header installed. I don't see that as an issue. While I was under here, I also went ahead. The header pipe goes right through here, so while it's out, well, I had it out to get it bent, I went ahead and put the gas pedal in. That's kind of nice because I could actually get to these nuts here and run it in with a socket. Also, while that thing's out, I'm going to go ahead and tighten these transmission cooler line fittings down all the way. This is the one, if you recall from several videos ago, that's stripped out. So I'm going to get a wrench on that and very gently tighten this down. I really don't want trans fluid leaking out of these, but that one's pretty tight, but I think I only ran it on with my fingers. This one I think is also only finger tight. Got to get those tight, and then I gotta, once that's done, get the starter out of the way and try and fix that. Then get the starter put back in, and then mess with the trans line some more. I might pull them all the way out even, and then and only then can I put this header down pipe back in. So it's a convoluted mess trying to get to all this stuff. So starting here. Wow, here we go. Now the reason I'm going to take this out of my way is, well, twofold. I need to get it untwisted from the back line. There we go. But also it's in the way of getting to this, and so is this back line. I really don't want to pull it off of here. Maybe I just unclip it up front and let it lay down some. Yeah. So anyway, get these things out of my way to where I can get to this a little bit easier. These are right in the way of that. Of the lower starter nut. You can see what I'm using here is the world's tiniest little channel locks. Okay, lefty loosey. You can see these pipes are in the way, and there's just really no good way to get this thing up in here, but just gonna slowly try and get this nut off of there and not mangle it. But that's what I'm going to end up doing, I'm sure. I know I can't see very well. There we go. Ah, it's coming. It's just going to be a slow process. I wish I could do it by finger. It's a little too tight for that still. Well, maybe not. God bless Baby Channel locks. They're awesome. Now I got to get the, I don't even think the top bolt's got to come out as well, because this nut won't come all the way off of the stud. I wonder. Yeah. All right. Well, now let me start loosening this top one. Oh, I need a 9/16. Yeah, before I get too far, I better pull these wires off of here. There we go. All right, let me get the wires off. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I did not tighten those down yet. Yep. They were just fingered on there. There's the big one. Oh boy. Let's see if we can get this little one off without dropping the little tiny nut. And the little lock washer. Oh boy. Don't worry if you can't see, because I can't either. Believe me, it's just a little tiny nut. Very, very slowly going up a 3/4 inch long stud. And I'm trying to keep it positive contact with my finger the entire time, so it doesn't go off in a Never Never Land. Come on. There we go. Got that little guy off of there. All right, wires are off. Starter's loose. Now I just gotta finish the bolts. Ah, where did my pliers go? Yep, I can get my finger on there now, but it is not turning very easily. Fine thread, you know. Probably get so far out and then, yep, that's what it's doing. It's getting tighter. I don't think I've mentioned in any of the previous videos how much I love these transmission cooler lines. Pretty much my favorite thing about the car. Now, where'd my 5/8 go? Wonder if I can get that one with a hand. Nope, maybe? Yeah, there it goes. Oh yeah, there's a shim in here as well. Like a guard shim. I don't know if I need it or not. It probably just keeps debris out of there. So here's how, golly, I hope you can see this, but I have to pull the starter out to here just to get this nut even started on this bottom stud. And there, that's off of there. Now the starter's gonna come out, but I wanna see how far down this thing will actually go. That is it. What is holding you up, buddy? What is holding you up? All right, I suspect it might be the shoulder on this stud. I don't know. Let's find out. Certainly it's not this little, you know, tiny shim. See, here it is, right here. Let's pull this stud out and see if it fits through that starter all the way. Actually, let's see if the starter fits up there with the stud out. Could be the snout not the right size or something. Something is most assuredly interfering with it. Oh, bang, there it is, all the way flush. All right, confusion there. If I don't put the little howdy doody back in there, seems like it goes all the way in. And what I suspect is and there'll be just a little tiny gap at the top where debris can get in there. I just don't even care. I'm leaving that thing out. But I got the snout all the way in now. And I suspect what's happening is when the snout centers in there to, get the gears to line up, that this stud, that hole right there is just not correctly clocked for this. So, that being said, I'm going to have to waller that out. But while I got it jammed in there, let's see if this top bolt will start and thread, or if that's also a problem. Does not appear to want to, and I just need this car about 3 feet higher in the air. Oh man, that is not good. Holy cow. Yeah, I think the bolt holes for this starter are not correct. And if I had this car about, I don't know, on a lift, I could really get up here and find out, but I can't. All right, top one's going in. No way I can get the bottom one started because it's a stud. So I can't even see how it appears I got some wiggle room here. Why wouldn't it do that with the stud in place? All right, well, let's pull it back out and let's take a gander. Boy, that snout is in there. Oh, come on, baby. There we go. All right, out from under the car we go. Okay, so if you wondered what a $200 mini starter looks like a lot like this, at least for a Chrysler. And what happens here is you can loosen this bolt and loosen this bolt, and I think this one is already stripped anyway. And then on the back here you can loosen this bolt, and then you can see you've got 4 different places to index this thing. And then those other bolts, if you clock it, those other bolts I just showed you would go into one of these spots, right? Pretty sure that one's already, one of these is already, when I got it, tried to tighten it down and it never snugged. So that's stripped. So that's pretty cool, but I think what we got going on is this snout. That's your centering snout. That is probably what is, causing the interference along with this. The stud actually seems to fit through there fine, but you don't have a whole lot of wiggle room there. And I think what's happening is it's offset a little bit. So I may just go ahead and bore this out some, because this is what's going to center it, not necessarily the bolts. If you file, like, look, that one's gigantic, got all kinds of wiggle room there. But before I go hogging on this thing, I think I'm going to put this stud in one more time, slip the starter back up in there, and see if I can get this snout to fully seat this time without the shim piece in there, the little guard. So let me try that. Magically, just by taking that shim out, this thing goes all the way flush now, and I've got both, the studs in there, and I already got the top bolt started. So I'm going to set the camera down out of the way, get the nut run back on there, and we'll see how long it takes me to tighten that nut down. Probably about an hour. And just like that, 3 weeks later, it's finally in all the way, nice and flush, no issues, other than if I was a smarter man, I would have stacked, before I slipped that nut on there, I would have slid about 5 washers on there, just so where I could tighten that down against those instead of running it all the way down all those threads. And you can see I've got into it with that little tiny crescent wrench, or whatever you call it. Yeah, it's hard to get to, and that right there and this, it's just, there's no room. I had to take both the pipes completely off, but now I've got them on there again, and they're tightened down, hopefully for the final time. And this is going to require some zip ties. Look at how junky that looks now. They should almost route together. They want to try to, but they're off by an inch there, and there's only one place they can go back here on the transmission. And this one's obviously been bent to hell and back, and I've had to bend this one around the transmission as well. It doesn't rattle too much. LOL. Well, we'll see if they leak, my friends. Hopefully not, because there's still no transmission fluid in here, knowing that I was going to be pulling those on and off and on and off. So everything down here should be buttoned up now. Even got the little nuts to the wires of the starter, the signal and the main power wire tightened down as far as I'm willing to on those copper threads. I guess the last thing to do while I'm under here is go ahead and zip these fellers back on home and get some cotter pins in there and motor on. Then move up front, start bending transmission lines to fit into the Raggiata. All right, fun. Oh yeah, still got to put the pipe back on, but it's gonna fit this time. It's gonna be a struggle. So let me fiddle with this for the next hour. Very painful tightening these bolts and nuts down, but I got a special weapon and now I got to find it. I had to search through my toolbox and I found a very special 9/16 combo, 9/16 and half. But the beauty of this guy is it's shorter, and where this one was clanking into everything, this one is not. So that helps a little bit. Makes me a little less angry, but let's see if I can get this all back together now. Okay, dokie. Much success. It is bolted back up in there. Everything's tight. Everything's put back in, except for these. I forgot I gotta get these still. But now I just want to show you, like, yeah, we guessed. And I said 5 degrees, and I probably should have said 3. It was just up against there. I just wanted to clear it by an inch, but yeah, we got a little bit more. So I don't think the camera's going to show level. The other one is up significantly. This one points down, so I'll obviously have to come off of this with the next pipe to angle it up a little bit, kind of get it back to level. The other one, the other side, very level with the floor, and the car's mostly level. And this one's pointing down. It is what it is. Thank you to those guys up at Roy Hendricks, man. They were awesome. I mean, walked me right back into the shop and said, sure, man. And again, that's me telling him 5 degrees, not him overbending it. And we bent it right here where I made that mark. It's clear of the floor now. I can get my hand all the way around it. We're clear of this. I can put my hand through where the trans-cooler line is. It's tightened down. None of the linkages interfere with it. And since I was under here, I went ahead and slipped the Speedo cable back in under here. Just need to put that on the transmission. That was fun. Not down here so much as up on the firewall. That was really hard to fish it up through a billion trillion things in the way to get to the grommet and the firewall. But anywho's, I'm done under here for now because I don't want to be under here anymore. So, well, I still need to measure for a drive shaft. You know what? I'm just gonna mess up top for a little while. Maybe I'll mess with transmission cooler line. It's my favorite thing. Nope, not my favorite thing. But like I said, I'm gonna pull this radiator out, and these are not happy. That may look like it goes to the right place, but it's angled upward, so it's you know, it needs more bending and finagling, and it's gonna sit back even further than this because the nipple's still got to go on there. Same thing here. It's angled upward. I've already tried to, you can see without kinking it, I've already snaked this one back further. Frustration with these transmission lines, but it is what it is. I don't know, they were like 60 or 70 bucks. I don't know, but yes, I'll go ahead and pull this radiator back out, get the fittings put in, and mess with the transmission lines up here. If I can get those snug down to where they won't leak, then it's time to put a hose on, and then I can put my power steering unit in. Then with the power steering unit off the battery, I can start making some connections here and seeing if this starter will go. Although I still got, I got to finish up this wiring over here. Yeah, I got to get back to that. I need to plumb that into, one goes to the coil, which I still need to mount. It's sitting here ready to go. And one of them needs to go back to the other side of the ballast resistor. I need to find, I think, what is it? Maybe key position 1? Or no, key position 2 when it's hot. I think for start. I'll have to look that up, you know, because I don't remember, but there's a mess of wires back there I got to get into and figure out what's going on. So that's what I'm going to do now, I guess. Start playing. What was I going to show you? Oh, I know. Check out what I found. This 440 came, you know, pan to air cleaner, right? Transmission, everything. And I went and I looked at the old Thermoquad that came on it, and look what I found, man. Not only the Mopar throttle adapter piece there that I definitely need, but hey, there's my kickdown linkage piece that I was missing that'll tighten up on there, or slides on there. This one tightens up, but I think one issue I'm already kind of seeing. Well, actually, let me let you hear it. When you go to kick down, you got a little bit of a limiting factor there. So that may be enough for kick down before it hits that, but we'll have to play with it and find out, because this came out of a truck, and I don't know that they're all the same. Probably not, but if it does work, it works. If it doesn't, low car it is. But I'm going to try and keep it kind of original, and I don't know why. Oh, let me show you this as well. I saw Junker Up Birdsong do this. I remember I didn't clean out this block. You know, I ran a garden hose through it as best as I could when I had it outside last fall or something like that, and got a lot of rust out of it, but I know there's still a ton of rust in there. So I got this filter thing from Summit, I think, maybe Amazon, don't remember. And I got a sacrificial upper radiator hose that I'll cut in half, put this thing in, and make sure I don't send all kinds of rust right into this brand new radiator, and clean it out a couple times. And then once I'm satisfied that the rust is all kind of done its thing, I'll get rid of this and put the permanent upper radiator hose on. I don't even know. Oh, I think I threw them on the floor. Yeah, that's my sacrificial one right there. Real thin rubber. And then that's a good lower hose, and then I got another one. I think before I pop this radiator out, I just wanted to show you all. This is the original fan shroud off of the Charger, the radiator for it. The radiator's bad. It's also a small block, so different inlet outlet. But you can see what I was talking about. It actually lines up with the bolt holes beautifully over here, which is pretty cool. But then I've got this 1-inch spacer all around it, so it's going to be pretty ineffective unless I can come up with a way to fill that whole thing up, top and bottom. And I'm still thinking on that. I mean, best it would be at this point would just be a guard, so I don't put my hands into the spinning sushi chef knife, also called a flex fan. But I don't think it's going to really help with any cooling, so debating on whether or not to mess with that, but we'll see. These are just finger tighted. But the other thing I want to do with this radiator out of here, obviously I'm going to put those fittings in. But I think also, ooh, I said finger tight, but no, just had the weight of the radiator sitting on it. There we go. I think what I'll also do while this is out of here is maybe pick up the... So with the radiator out of there, one thing I don't like is when you look into the front of the car, all you see is that shiny aluminum. So I've got some Eastwood radiator black, kind of satin. It says heat dissipating formula, quick drying, and I think it's like thinned out pretty heavily to where you can spray this down. And this is the only part that needs to be black, is the finned portion. And I'm just going to spritz it real quick. I think throw some tape over all the parts that I don't care if they're showing aluminum. Aluminum will look good, looks custom, but that's going to look a lot better through the grill than the aluminum. So while that's out, I'll throw that on there, but first let me get the bungs off of the other one. So here's the radiator that came out of the Charger.
Obviously, we got some issues going on with this old thing, but it is what it is. All I need are these fittings out of there, and let's see if they're even going to come off. Yeah, I'm going to have to split these. No big deal, because that's the part I need, is the inside piece. So let me get these into the vise and see if I can get those off of there and go from there. Now I get this thing out of my shop, just taking up space, but I'm going to spill transmission fluid all over first. A little bit of heat, a little bit of juice, a little bit of heat, a little bit of juice. And there we go. Went ahead and used a flare nut wrench. I don't want to touch that. So I didn't tear it up. I probably should go ahead and just get new ones of these. They're a little sad, a little hot. And now wash, rinse, repeat on the other one. They'll probably be all right. You know, heat, juice. Clean that out so that my juice can get down in there. Start off with the heat. Probably doesn't need a ton. It's just brass. Now get the juice. Oh, lots of juice. See if I'll have any similar luck. Is that the half side? Yeah. Oop. Guess I need to tighten my vise a little more. Yeah. Well. Yep, there she goes. Beautimus. Can't resist. Gotta finger it out. There we go. Alright, that was easy. Nice when something goes okay. I have not shaken this nearly enough, I'm sure. Let's let that dry. All right, got my little fittings in. Now let's see how poorly the those transmission cooling lines line up. And there. Oh, I see. That's the problem right there. There. Get that thing out of my way. There we go. Yeah, I got the lower radiator hose stabbed in, and that needs to be shortened. And oh boy, yeah, those aren't going to go anywhere near without some serious bending. All right, cool. Well, that's what I got for today. I'll come back after it. I got about maybe 3 hours tomorrow that I can fight these lines. They're just, you know, now with the nipples on there. I need to get out my bending tool, and I got to be careful with bending them so they don't get up into the crank pulley. Yeah, and you can see I need to shorten that probably about 1 inch, so pull that back off. It's got it wedged way back, even though it will come forward some. Well, I don't know, that might be pretty decent. No, it's kinked. So I need to take 1 inch off of that, but getting there. Slowly, but very uncertainly getting there. Back tomorrow. Have a good night. Alrighty, it is the next weekend. I have no idea what I even did last weekend. I've slept since then. I think it had something to do with the starter. I don't remember. Anyhow, as soon as I come out here, I try to assess where I'm at. And so what I'm going to start, well, I've started, is trying to get these stupid transcooler lines lined up, and I've been underneath the here for about 25 minutes now, just bending and tweaking, and they're just an awful fit. Now I will say, in their defense, this radiator is a bit thicker than the factory, so it's back a little further with the nipple there, but I got to get these on before I can fill up the transmission, and I have to fill up the transmission before I can fire off the engine, right? Don't want to run a transmission dry, so processes, you know. I would also like to have a little bit of coolant in this thing. So that's what I'm working on today, but obviously we're not ready to fire up. We don't have any, you know, wires or anything going on. So plenty to do, but see how far I can get today. I don't have very many hours. It's already 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Yay. So next, I think I'm going to take this coolant lower hose back off up here. And I think it's got some kinks in it. So I think I'm going to shave about half, 3/4 of an inch off of it, and then jam it back in there. And that'll be that step done. Get that bolted down. Get the top one done. Probably going to leave this open while I fill it to where it'll breathe and burp it out of there. Get the top, got to seal these, seal this. This wire's not going to reach that temp sensor. But that's what this is for. I'm going to run a regular old, temp gauge. Yeah, one of those guys. So, off we go. All right, the trans lines are on. Got the lower hose fitted better, no kinks. Cut a half, 3/4 inch off it. But look at it putting in the fan shroud now. Like I said before, this is original to the car, at least from when I bought it, and it will sit on there. The bolt holes line up, but you can see there's quite a large gap there. But at a minimum, maybe it'll help keep my fingers on my hands as that flex fan spins around. But the challenge right now is what size nuts, what size bolts fit into these nut certs. Right now I got a zip tie run through one of them because I was thinking on just zip tying it. Not going to be great. Would work, but I thought, well, let's just try 1/4 20, and sure enough, it is not 1/4 20. It's something else, probably. Stay. Probably, if I were betting, man, metric. Because it probably is hardware that would also come with this radiator if you got the optional fan and shroud. Which I don't want electric fan crap on here. I don't want to deal with any of that. I don't know that this flex fan will keep it cool. It might. I know for one thing that this won't guide it super great because you're going to have a huge gap around it, but at least, again, a little bit, offering a little bit of protection as we lean over and set timing and don't get a fan blade to the hand. It may channel a little bit of the air. But this is like a coarse thread, and that also feels like it's fine thread. So I'm going to keep searching, and if it comes down to it, it's just going to be zip ties because just ain't care. So let me keep looking for a minute, and then I'm going to just press on. Well, I did find two that kind of fit. Had to put some big washers on them, just digging through small bolt bins and everything. They're not right, but they will snug down. And so I'm going to use zip ties on the top two and a screw on each side of the bottom. And we'll see how that works out. And now I'm going to try and wrestle in this fan without knocking this out of position. The water pump pulley. Hopefully the bolt holes stay lined up. And I can get this long ass bolt started with this spacer. Oh, and this is where I got to try not to also bang into the face of the radiator. Where is the bolt hole? There it is. This is not fun. Kind of a challenge. I can just get a couple threads going. That'd be bueno. If I could just get my hand down in there. Thumb and a finger. Just get a thread started. That would be winning. Yeah, the old GoPro loves to shut off just kind of whenever it gets a little lazy feeling. But I think I got one started. Now I need to figure out the best way to get a hand in there. It's going to probably be my left hand. Try and get one of these other bolts going. What a go rodeo. So wrestle with this for a little while and hope that the bolts I'm putting in aren't so long that they feed all the way through the snout and end up dragging on the water pump housing. Not that I've ever seen that happen before. First I gotta get one run all the way down, so that's gonna be the challenge. So let me get that going, and I'll be back with you here shortly. And if you were wondering what I was talking about, let's take a listen as I rotate this fan. I believe that is the head, or the tip of the bolt, scraping against the snout of the water pump. Because they're not, the water pump pulley is not hitting these bolts, although they are pretty tight. Guess I could let it just self-clearance, but it may start screaming. So the thing to do is back out each one of these bolts and add a washer to it. You know, come to think of it, those just had a flat washer. Maybe I'll just throw a split lock in there and that'll give me all the clearance I need. So out they come. Fortunately, I was able to get each one out individually and slip on a split washer and no more scrapey. So good to go there. Now zip tie up my little howdy doody. But before I start slapping zip ties, I'm going to try to get a bottom one of these crazy little guys that I found in my junk drawer. Let's see if this will work. Probably be fighting it. Yeah, no doubt. If that'll work or not. You know what? I don't think this bolt is going to be long enough to reach all the way in there. I don't know what size it is either. Let's see if this little guy will fit it. Nope. Where'd the other little guy go? Well, daggone. And that works. See if I can run it down on there some before it strips out. Nope, it strips. Well, ain't that a peach? These things are 1 inch long and they're not long enough. Because if you look at this thing, it's got like a recess there. That's 1/4 inch. And as this goes through, it should, in theory, reach that
nutsert, but it's, I guess the threads on the nutsert start way too far back in there. I don't know. What the hell? Really want to have 4 zip ties on here. Because, well, A, they're hard to fish through this thing from the back side, but, all right, let me go see if I can't find something longer, or at least get a thread count on this and maybe go to the Lowe's Depot or something. I'll be back with you in a little bit. Now, if I was at work, I'd get fired for using this without gloves. But I ain't at work, am I? Have to figure out how this goes back on there. But yeah, something like that. All right, cool. Oh, hey, let's get some clamps. Fight this thing on there. Let's get another clamp. Let's just try and do it right with clamps and everything. Okay. A little bit of a kink there. Huh. Well, that ain't gonna work. All right. I think what I'm going to do is trim a little bit off right here. Yeah, that'll take that kink out of it. All right. That did it. Got her lined up a little better now. And I assume I've even got it going in the right direction. Yay. Tighten things down a little bit. And then I can seal these guys up. And then we can start putting coolant in this joker. That'll be nice. See if we got any leaks. And keep pressing forward. You know what's going to be funny? Is I've got belts on order. Don't know if they're going to fit or not, but if you've been watching closely, you know what I'm about to say. If you've been doing this for a minute, you'll know that, well, the belts aren't on, and they got to go around that fan. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Can it be done? Absolutely. People do it all the time. Is it annoying as hell? You better believe it. But that's what I'm going to do. And I don't even know if those belts are going to fit. I can't get my power steering pump in yet because I'm still waiting on delivery for the high pressure hose for that. So I wanted to just keep pressing forward, even though if all this was out of the way, it'd be a lot easier to do that, but it is what it is. I'm tired of waiting. So it is what it is. All right, cool. See what I can mess with now. Gotta be something. Maybe I'll take that old power steering hose off of there so I can be ready when that does show up. I think it shows up like Tuesday and it's only Saturday. What else? Stuff and things. Oh yeah, I can finish up the carburetor and get this piece put on. I'm also waiting on a fuel line because this, you can't see it. Let me grab you over here. Waiting on a Edelbrock fuel line because this right here, this nipple sticks out too far, and with the hose on it, the fuel line, it sticks out too far, and the drop hat air breather, it doesn't fit. So we got a cool looking little $30 banjo fitting that fits Edelbrock carburetors. It drops it straight down and underneath, and then the pipe will come out to right about here, and then boop, we'll go right into it. Which reminds me, that's the next thing I can do real quick. Throw this guy in down there somewhere and button that all up. I'd rather have hard line, but I don't have anything that fits that, so I'd have to go and buy it all and put it together. Maybe someday, but not today.
And I don't even think that's tight. Yeah, that's not tightened down on there yet. So I need to pull that off, put a filter on, do that real quick, and then mess with the alternator and get this wiring finished up. Alrighty, got the, just came in a little hour or two ago and I threw this joker on here. That's that banjo style fitting. Drops it down, so now the air cleaner will sit on there nice. Went ahead and bolted down the carburetor. Been messing with vacuum line fittings and stuff back here for the brake booster, and also one for the headlight vacuum canister, which I'm gonna have to get another vacuum line for that because that one's not gonna reach. I guess I'll either, I don't know, I might run that to the PVC over there, or to this, but that's pretty big. That would typically go up to the breather, but I don't have that provision. It'll still vent. Probably run that to the PVC, but anyway, yeah, got that all done. Been routing the temperature gauge. Tried to come around the other side with the rest of the wires, but it left me short inside, and they're just laying in the floor in the car right now. I haven't put them, installed them, which obviously I hate doing that, screwing underneath the dash. There's just not a lot of options in this particular car because of a speaker knob and a vent, pulley thingy where I want all this to go. So I'll figure something out, but let's see, what else? Yeah, I plugged all of my, this is ready for coolant now. I plugged all that. It's also, should be, fingers crossed, ready for ATF. Throw all that in. I need to double check all the spark plugs are seated down, and then I need to start sending wires all over the place. But I think I'll save that for tomorrow. Over a cup of coffee, I think I'm going to dive back into, I got to make sure my ignition is set up properly off of the, my brain just went completely dead. Ballast resistor, that I got the proper wire going to the proper wire on this guy right here. That's coil negative, and I gotta mount my coil. Yeah, this wire. So, gotta get that sorted, probably in the morning. Because, I don't know, I've spent the last 3 or 4 hours farting around inside the car, underneath the car, just doing odds and ends, fiddly stuff, like I said. And, getting closer and closer. Pretty soon I'm not going to have any excuse except to twist the key. No drive shaft still. Waiting on that. And I don't know. Maybe I'll try and twist the key tomorrow. Let's find out together. I think I'm going to go cut grass right now, though. Whew. All right. Talk to you shortly. All right. It's the next afternoon. I've spent the entire morning running around doing stupid stuff and absolutely getting nothing done, and then got home and then had to run back out because, well, all of my electrical tape has magically disappeared from my shop. Anyhow, doing some 12-volt testing here. So got the battery connected, no fires yet. Making sure that things aren't touching things they shouldn't probably be, like that one. And I'm just making sure where the main ignition feed, the 12-volt source, is, to know where to stab this wire into my ballast resistor. So I'm going to make a little jumper to where I can plug that all back in normal. But so it's in the run position now, and I did check. That's where I got 12 volts, is on those blue wires. I assumed it would be this brown and blue wire here, but I guess that's the other side of the ballast resistor to feed the coil. So that makes sense. But while I've got this thing connected and nothing's on fire yet, let's go inside of the car briefly. You'll have to forgive my mess. I haven't connected up any of the wiring from when I did the floor, and I was in here doing some deep dive yesterday trying to figure things out. Obviously that triple gauge is just laying there, and now you can see why I haven't mounted it, because I'd really like for it to be right about there. Over here is an ashtray, so I can't mount it there. It'd be so far back under there that I wouldn't be able to see it. Now, I'll also point out that this here is an amp gauge. All right, pretty wild, aftermarket. So somebody's already removed the amp gauge that would have been, let me come out here, that far right gauge in the gauge cluster, the far right gauge there. They'd disconnected that, probably smart. Those are notorious failure points, and put in this aftermarket one, which seems to be making the connection. Looks like I got just a dangling ground here from the steering column, but anyway, nothing's on fire. It's in there's the run position. I can't turn any lights or anything on because, well, the cluster's missing, and that's where you turn all your lights on and stuff. So, but while we're here, let's see what this does. Ooh, not bad. Okay, starter works. So that's about all the progress I'm going to make today, because now I got to go do other things family-wise, and then get back from that and then weed eat. I didn't have a chance yesterday after cutting the grass, so good times. But while I got you, I want to show you a couple other items. Let me disconnect this battery real quick, and let me show you a couple other things going on. I don't have any idea what this wire goes to. I'm gonna have to deep dive that, but it goes to something. I just don't know what. Get it out of the way. What I was gonna show you here is the throttle is, well, as I mentioned before, I found my kickdown linkage, but this throttle does not reach the post here. Let me get you in there close. It's about 1/4 of an inch off. And so if I do connect it, it pulls the throttle part way back, which is already starting that accelerator pump in its travel. Can't do that. So I'm gonna have to fab something up. And look at the goofy angle that this has got to be at now, from the factory hold down. Hopefully it won't be too much of an issue. I'm gonna have to watch that for wear. It should be more in this region, kind of straight in and out, but it is what it is. And I also don't know if this is going to work very well for the kickdown with that angle. It should, but look at that. It's because this intake manifold is twice as high as the factory. Again, which is why I was concerned about closing the hood onto the carburetor stud, which I've still got to cut. And another thing I realized I never showed you was the blacked out radiator. Now when you look through the grill, all you see is black instead of aluminum, which is kind of cool. I like this much better. So that's where I'm at. Again, more fiddly things, right? But I got to get the electrical right. Get this right. I need to make my jumper. Get the power resistor plugged in. I am going to use that old box in case I fry it when trying to start this engine, because China. Before I put that one in, the last time, I don't know, I got one of these Mopar orange boxes, and it out of the box it was bad. But I didn't find that out because I didn't use it for over a month, and I was not able to return it. So here's hoping that's good. They're going to do probably the same thing, although theoretically I've heard that the orange box is hotter and the chrome box is even hotter. Don't care. This is a stock engine, so other than the intake manifold. Let's see. What else do I got to do here? I don't know. That's probably a good start. Got to fill up the coolant. So this is still loose right here. That's that temp sensor, and so I can burp it right through there. Once I see coolant coming up there, I'll go ahead and put that in. Top it the rest of the way up, and hell, I don't know. Maybe next weekend. I'm running out of time today, but maybe next weekend I'll actually squirt some gas down the throat and see what happens. God, I hope it runs. If you did hear a little bit of gallop when I started it, I think I have spark plugs that aren't tightened down. I know that last one I put in, I just fingered it in there, so that's part of it probably. I need to go through and check that, and yeah. Go from there. So I'll talk to you a little bit later. Let me get this stuff wrapped up. Well, friends, I just finished up sweating with the weed eater. Good times when it's hot out. Love it. Not really. Just checked my upload. I'm probably working on a 50-something minute video already, so I don't want to make this any longer. So I think what I'm going to do is wrap this one up. I'll put the rest of the little tying together things into the next video and twist the key with some gas down the throat of that thing. Got a few more things to do, odds and ends, run the wires, blah, blah, blah. Simple things, and kind of looking forward to that. So hopefully next weekend we'll get this thing lit off. So stick around, come back, and as always, thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a great week.